Good Doc back again, once again. Let's lock in. Shout out to the IPA, the International Passport Association and affiliates. Official merch linked in the description area below. Official Good Docs, good books listed in the link in the description area below as well. Came across this video today, and the first thing I'm thinking is, here we go again. Another seemingly non-passport brother talking about passport bros. And in my mind, I'm thinking, and if I'm wrong, you can call me out on this one, but it seems as though passport men, passport bros, blue book gentlemen, however you want to call us, we never really have an issue with the guys that choose not to travel. It is only when they start talking shit about us that choose to travel that we feel that we have to respond and defend ourselves. That's what it seems like to me. Again, maybe I'm in the wrong circle, or maybe I'm seeing it a little bit differently. Maybe you guys see it a little bit different from me. But it always seems as though it's a brother that's talking shit about other brothers who are choosing to travel, then we have to respond and defend ourselves about why the reasons we travel. And it almost seems as if they are recruiting these guys, women, more specifically Western women, to talk shit about us. And it's okay for me, because what I realize in this game, and I see it, and y'all should see it too. Doc's about to drop some gems tonight, but just hold me on a little bit. But what I'm starting to notice in this community, passport community, and non-passport community, when it speaks upon the men that choose not to travel, what I'm noticing is there are key trigger words, right, that really perk the ears up, right? There are key trigger words, and they come from all parties, right? When it comes from the non-passport men talking about passport brethren, oh, you lame, you didn't get girls here, you can't get women here, that's why you travel. That's pretty much key trigger words that kind of get passport men, not necessarily in their feelings, but it kind of forces us to make a response, because that's kind of what they're telling us. Y'all lame ass, y'all can't get women here. From the opposite side, from the women talking about passport men, oh, y'all lame, y'all traveling, these women don't love you, this, that, and the other. I mean, you can go down the laundry list. But if you come across somebody that doesn't necessarily use the trigger words, lame, can't get women, whatever those trigger words are for you, it now opens up the floor to what I like to call arguments and statements, opinions, and it gives you a chance to make fair responses, right? Because they're not necessarily calling you a lame this or doing that, but they're actually making statements based on observation that they've seen when it comes to dealing with certain passport men. And now that's where I come in. Because, if you think about it, women really get mad at the guys more so when they're referred to as like bitches and hoes. Right? If a passport guy calls women in the West bitches and hoes, oh, you know you woke up a monster, right? Outside of that, you already know. So there are trigger words on all sides. But when you have somebody who doesn't use the trigger words and he's making a valid argument and a statement, it's always fun to be able to make a response to it. I just so happen to find that in this video. And today we're going to go ahead and talk about it, all right? So there's a brother on TikTok who seems to want to make his statements about what he sees passport men going through, or basically why these guys are choosing to travel. And today, as a fellow brethren who would like to represent passport brethren and company, I'm gonna go ahead and give my opinions based off of his, okay? So let's go ahead and lock into it. Let's lock.
I would like to take this time to talk to the passport boys. And if you are unfamiliar with who I'm referring to, these are the brothers who have made it a point to go outside the country to find wives because American black women are just too difficult to deal with. They won't submit, etc., etc.
Okay.
First thing I want to ask is, why? You do realize women outnumber men 3-1. I believe there's 170 million women in the country of America. So you mean to tell me out of all 170 million, you can't find one American woman that is going to give you what you want? With all the dating technologies, with all the dating apps, with the technology, with the internet, you mean to tell me you can't just go across state lines and find you a wife?
Okay. All right. So his first comments, or his first reason, is the explanation that women basically, there's more women than there are men in the United States. He says that there are, for every one man, there are 3 women, right? That dating statistic, if it's true, it's true. And he probably isn't wrong, right? And then he mentions the idea of going across state lines. Unfortunately, for most passport brethren, depending on the community, depending on where they grow up, depending on, you know, their surrounding and upbringing, most of the young ladies that fall into a particular environment have all been somewhat tainted by social media. They've kind of somewhat been infused with the Western indoctrination about women are up here and men are down here. And it becomes very, very difficult, even if we do cross state lines, to find a young lady that has the qualities that we're actually looking for. Right? Now, I know he says a little bit more in this one. And again, there's nothing about what he says that I'm not going to sit here and try to charge in and talk shit about, because if there are more women than there are men in the United States, you would think that it would be easier. But unfortunately for us, depending on the environment where you grow up and, you know, who you deal with, and I'm not saying that it's always just about the environment, that's just one variable and there's a couple of others. It just seems that a lot of these women have the complex that they are superior than to men. And it's hard for you to be able to say that there aren't women out there that don't have that mindset. If you, and let's just go ahead and call it out, because I feel like it's worth noting, because I feel like, you know, if you want to break it down by race, right? If you want to say black women and white women, they both live in the West, right? And you know, you hear about a black man dating a white woman or getting out of dating black women and he wants to date a white woman. You know, you're gonna hear shit about that as well. So I'm not sure if that is a conflict that he wants to discuss, or if that's a conflict that he actually wants to address, and the shit and shame that comes with just dating a white woman, even if they are in the United States, as opposed to dating a foreign woman. But again, there are layers and variables within the United States that have made it extremely difficult for a lot of men to find what they are seeking, right? Because there's always a young lady in their ear, a best friend or somebody that could be basically trying to help their young lady or their friend finesse the guy that she's with out of a, you know, just finesse him into a relationship or get something out of him or something. There's just too much negativity here that I think it's becoming difficult for a lot of guys to find what they're actually looking for. And thus the reason why a lot of guys choose to look abroad in the process. All right? But again, appreciate you, my boy, but I just kind of feel like, you know, it's just difficult to find what you're actually looking for in the United States, even if there are more women than there are men. All right? So let's go ahead and continue.
It doesn't sound like you're going overseas to find love. It seems like you're trying to go overseas, find a woman that you think is dumb, train her up and groom her to be a submissive housewife so you can walk all over her. It doesn't really sound like you're looking for a wife or a love. It sounds like you're looking for a slave that just does whatever you tell her to.
Okay, so my man says it seems as though a lot of passport brethren aren't looking for wives or looking for love, but more or less a slave, sex slave, whatever kind of slave, maid, or whatever. There is the thing that I like to refer to, and again, you can use it or not use it, or maybe this applies to you, maybe it doesn't, but there's a thing called foundational femininity. I don't think I created it, but this is something that just came to me right now. I don't know if anybody's ever said it before me, but if they haven't, Doc's coining the phrase. Foundational femininity. As in, as long as you have the fundamental things that a guy is looking for in a woman, you know, not necessarily just always about the cooking and the cleaning and the treating me like a king and a slave and all of that shit, bowing down to me, not necessarily that, but if you treat me with some fucking respect, that, my friends, takes away and negates damn near everything that other people will have to say, or it negates a lot of the characteristics that I think that he was trying to refer to in this video, as opposed to looking for a slave or somebody to groom to make into a slave more so than a wife or a significant other. For me, like I said, I had time, right? Had time. I found my wife. We were able to talk about it, get it in, you know, really focus in, hone in on each other, really know each other, and, you know, get to, you know, be a part of a relationship as opposed to jumping into anything. But I can honestly tell you what attracted me to her is she seemed like she would make a good mother, right? So I can't speak for all passport men, but I do believe that the majority of us are looking for women that could make potentially good mothers. If you are looking for love, if you're looking for just somebody to mate with, somebody that treats you with some fucking respect, and you don't really get that a lot with women in the West. That's kind of the main issues that a lot of guys are having with the attitude and stuff, and just being treated like second-class citizens and shit. You know, feminism and all that shit hasn't really helped at all. But if you treat a man with some respect, you know, and you treat him like the man that he is, it seems as though a lot of guys are willing to play ball and cooperate and participate in a relationship with a young lady in order to build something with them, not necessarily utilize them or treat them like slaves or maids or anything like that. Again, Doc can't speak for everybody. There might be some guys in the community that may do that. I'm not gonna say that that doesn't exist. You act like everybody who's a passport bro is the greatest of all times. I'll be the first to tell you, but again, your non-traditional or non-traveling brothers, y'all got your own problems too. So again, there's always the good and the bad in every community, and I feel like what's representative of the majority of the community is a lot of guys that are actually looking for young ladies that will treat them a whole lot better than they've probably been treated by women in the West. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward.
But I want to let you guys in on a few things. I watch 90 Day Fiance religiously. Love the show. Love the show. And one thing I see on 90 Day Fiance is that when the people go overseas and they find love and they bring them over here, it doesn't happen just like that. They may be able to get them over here, but they may not be able to keep them over here because that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of paperwork. Do you have that much time to spend on somebody? And let's say you go through all that and you make it through the other side and she's officially an American citizen and y'all can get married. There's no guarantee she's going to stay.
So my man says, he references the 90 Day Fiance show. I like the show as well. He's not lying, right? Getting them there takes time, effort, energy, paperwork, and it takes some money. I even did a video about how much it cost me up to a certain point before my young lady actually made it here to the United States to be with me. I'm gonna try to link that video in the description area below if I can remember to do so. But yeah, I went through the process. Yes, it's a very long process. It is, and it does take time, effort, and energy. And if that's what you want, you're gonna do whatever it takes, right? That's just the truth. But like I said, the 90 Day Fiance isn't always the best reference because there's a lot of shit that they do for the TV. You know, you get them visitors visas so that they could come to, you know, whatever country you're in at the moment. So they kind of take care of that paperwork for you. So I've heard some behind the scenes stuff. And then again, if you want to make it official or more official than a whistle, then you got to go through the process, you know, the paperwork. And it does. It takes a long time, a significantly long time. And a lot of guys, if they not willing to put in the work, effort, and energy to bring them back to the United States, and a lot of guys really aren't, they would rather just go to that particular country. I feel like that's what they're going to do.
There's no guarantee she's going to stay here. There's always a chance that a law might get passed where she could get deported. Also, let's say you go over there. Let's say you want to go over there because you fell in love with their country. You do also, again, realize that you're going to have to abide by the customs of that country. You have to throw away all your American shit out the window.
All right, so actually, he's not saying anything wrong, but he's also not saying anything that I haven't said myself in my own damn videos about passport bros. Leave that American shit behind. We all say that. Leave that American attitude, that American energy, leave that shit behind. It ain't gonna help you, big dog. It ain't gonna help you over there. You'll get in more trouble with that nonsense if you do, right? You just will. Let's call it what it is, man. You will get in shit and you will get in trouble, right? Because you're gonna have this false bravado when you're gonna come with this chip on your shoulder and all this negative energy. It ain't gonna help you abroad. It ain't gonna help you get nobody over there because nobody wants to be a part of that shit. And why do you want to be the type of person that you're trying to leave behind by getting out of the United States? I just can't get it, right? So again, that energy that you have, that westernized energy, you do got to leave that shit behind, right? And then he mentions something about PDA, right? You know, public displays of affection, and you know, if you kiss your girl, somebody get shot in the face or something like that. That's more so, and I'm not going to say that they do this in this particular country, but that stuff more so happens in the Middle East, right? Wherein PDAs are not necessarily acceptable unless you can prove that you're actually married to that particular person. In UAE, you have to carry around a version of your marriage license if you're going to be walking hand in hand with somebody, because it's against the law to be able to walk hand in hand or have PDA or dress a certain way in these particular countries unless, you know, you are married. Again, the dress has nothing to do with you being married, but, you know, being able to hold hands and stuff like that, that plays a major part in that as well. So he is right, but in reality, a lot of these guys aren't going to be getting these Middle Eastern women. Okay, just call it what it is, man. Y'all ain't gonna be slanging and getting a lot of these Middle Eastern women. It's very rare that you have a guy that can successfully get a young lady in the Middle East. And the reason that is because they have to give up all their rights as a citizen, all the funding that they could get from the government if they choose to marry outside of their race, right? If you choose to marry, let's say, for example, an Emirati marries another Emirati, you're fine. But if a young lady who was Emirati marries a foreigner, they give up all their shit. We talk about the government take care of their people out there. That's another story for another day. I've been in the UAE a couple times, man, and they definitely take care of their people. Another story for another day. Let's go ahead and continue.
Because in some cultures, they don't believe in PDA, so you can go get a kiss from your wife outside if you want. You might get shot in the face. Also, in some countries, the father gives their daughter away to a man. And the man who wants to marry that woman has to pay a fee. And you don't know what their currency might add up to in $1 million. It may cost like 500 kugels in whatever country you're from, but that might equal out to 50 grand in America. Do you have 50 grand?
Okay, so my man's talking about a dowry. D-O-W-R-Y, dowry. Paying to basically marry the young lady in the country. That is, to an extent, an old world custom, and that doesn't necessarily happen in all countries. There probably are a couple of countries that still actually engage in the paying for the daughter to be married to a dowry or something like that. Back in the day, it could have been some goats and chickens and shit, you know, give away some farm animals and stuff like that back in the day. Nowadays, it comes with probably a price tag, sometimes very hefty. I do believe in India they may still practice that, but where I used to live at in the Philippines, y'all, ain't nobody paying to marry no Filipina. I think that you marrying a Filipina or marrying into a foreigner marrying a Filipina, I think that brings a lot of prestige to the family overall. But that's another story for another day. But what he's talking about, for the most part, is a pretty old world custom. That's not something that's readily practiced currently. In most countries that I've been in most countries that I've seen, there's very few people that still practice the payment for a bride, you know, paying the family off for a bride.
Also, the way you guys talk about women on TikTok, y'all do realize those foreign women hear you, right? TikTok is not just in America, it is an international thing. And those international women that you want so bad, they hear how you talk about women and how stupid and how ignorant you sound. So do you think they're going to want you? Are you willing to take that L to get rejected?
He brings up a great point, man. He brings up a great point. And like I said, man, I don't make these videos to bash other women, right? If I say anything about Western women, usually based on attitudes, and I just feel like sometimes that shit just ain't compatible for me. But again, like I mentioned earlier, if you're going around here calling them bitches and hoes and all of that shit, that triggers the fuck out of a lot of these women, and that's really what kind of gets the ball rolling in a negative way more so often than not. So if you are on social media talking about women like this, yes, please believe these women see the way you're talking about them. And to an extent, I don't know if that hurts or helps you. I kind of keep my comments to myself, or I keep them limited or to a minimum, because my energy shouldn't be put into talking about a group of young ladies that I don't want anymore, right? As a whole, let me make sure I clarify that. I shouldn't put my energy, and most guys shouldn't put their energy into women that you're probably not looking to date as a whole. Let's just call it for what it is. But yet and still, I know a man feels the right that he has to defend himself. If you do hear the same trigger words as mentioned earlier, when you hear women talking about passport men, you know, you're going to have to come back and holler at them, because that just seems to be the way that we're wired, right? You want to defend your stance. But in reality, it's not really worth it, right? I think silence is the best treatment for the situation. But then again, I got to understand that people going to want to defend themselves and their rights to be a passport man. But then again, if you take into consideration that women or Western women and the non-passport guys, if you think about it in its totality, it's amazing that we as passport men have taken ourselves out of the situation, right? We're no longer in it. We no longer want it. We're no longer in competition with these guys, but yet and still they're mad at us for traveling. And I don't understand why. I don't. Until this day, for the life of me, I'll never understand why they seem to harness such negative energy towards guys who are no longer their competition, right? If you want these young ladies in the West, I give you my blessing if that's what it takes, right? That's kind of what it feels like. And I think other brethren feel that. But then again, it's amazing how these guys and the women that are hating on passport men aren't even really dating each other either. Most of the time, they're not even dating each other. They're not even looking to be in relationships with one another. You got the same strong, independent women looking to be by themselves. Then you have the men over here who are practicing some beta concepts and principles, and they're doing everything that they can to get the women that probably don't necessarily want them. You know, and it becomes just this ever-revolving cycle that us as passport men have taken ourselves out of. That's the way that I look at it. All right, let's go ahead and finish this off.
L to get rejected in more than one country. And last but not least, there's no guarantee that that person is going to be with you for the right reasons. How do you know that that person just doesn't want a green card to get into America? These are all the things I suggest you guys think about before you guys.
Now, the last thing he talks about is the green card situation. All right. Now, you can poll every passport man on earth, and a resounding 90+% of them, I can almost tell you this, about 90+%, have no desire to bring their foreign women to the United States in order for them to pick up on some negative traits that could rub off on them as a result of dealing with Western women. They just want to go to that country and deal with women in that country. So I'm not really sure that the green card issue is going to be an issue for a lot of guys. Again, I took the non-traditional path of sorts, wherein I've actually chose to marry and, you know, get with my wife and shit like that I met while I was overseas. I did bring her to the United States. And like I said, man, it's going the way that it's going. You know, but again, most decisions that these guys make, I'm gonna tell you right now, a lot of them aren't looking to take that route. That is not the route that a lot of passport men take. Most of them choose to stay single so that they can have their fun, right? And who am I to stand in their way? And who are a lot of these non-passport brothers to stand in their way either, or to have any opinion about it, if you ask me. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's my time, effort, and energy. It's been a little bit of a time, but I appreciate y'all locking in, man. It's been a good dog, man. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to share, like, comment, and subscribe on it. This has been the Good Doc, man. Y'all take care. Y'all stay blessed. The Good Doc is out. Peace.